Great. Look, Daniel, when you started, you showed all these great multinational companies coming into Israel, and you started to show all the different brands. Though I want to move on to you. Alcatel-Lucent recently declared they're going to open their global headquarters of their cloud computing business in Israel. You're going to lead that business. For those of you, just again to make sure we're all on the same page, cloud computing is, I think it's fair to say, it's the most important revolution in the IT industry for the next years to come. And it's true for IT for consumers, IT for corporates, and IT for governments. All of them are going to be totally disrupted and changed by this phenomenon called cloud computing. Explain to us, why did Alcatel-Lucent decide to open this center here? I think that's a fair start, and then we'll continue.
Sure. So we actually started 2.5 years ago. So don't believe everything you read, but it is a lot more formal now. And what happened is about 3 years ago or so, I was in Paris at the time at our headquarters, and we were looking for the next disruption, not the next evolution, not the next shift change or step change for the telecom industry, but the next disruption. And looking at our brothers and sisters in the IT industry, we saw how Amazon, how Amazon changed the world for software developers, right? That you didn't have to care anymore about computing and the database, the disks working or not working. You just wrote the best software you can to add value, and somebody else abstracted all this complexity to you for you. Then we looked at our industry in the telecom space, and it's still very much the way we've always done it. We have Bell Labs, right? Built the first telephone. Still done the same way. If you want a new service, you build dedicated equipment. You have some capacity planner, thinking what peak is going to be 3 years from now, because it takes 3 years to do anything in the telco space. Then rack and stack equipment, do it twice to be telco grade, and run underutilized with complex value chain, complex supply chain, with spare parts per service, etc. And then wait a second. If on Amazon you can run applications like Netflix, which traditionally would be a telco service, and like Skype and like Fiverr, why can't you run everything on the cloud? And that's actually what we tried to do. We said, let's just create a cloud inside the telcos and stop building kit and start moving networking services as cloud applications that sit deep, deep inside the network. So not on Amazon, but inside the network. And in doing so, everybody thought we were crazy. A, that we have no interest to do so because we sell a lot of hardware. Make a business doing that. And B, because it's impossible, it won't work, it won't change, and so on. That's where we decided to do it in Israel. We were looking for two big factors. There are other ones that were listed there that I fully agree with. One, first of all, critical mass of people that know very well the telecom space and very well the IT and the cloud space. And we needed to marry those skills together. And two, and the whole tech transfer, I really agree with it, interdisciplinary skills, taking what you learned on virtualizing SAP and moving that into the telco space or what have you, just see some of the people that joined our team. And second is a team that doesn't mind failing, will execute with extreme speed, and really wants to change the world, really wants to change the way networks are built and bring it into the 21st century. So if Michael is changing the business of the telecoms and pricing models and competitive approaches and so on, we're trying to really disrupt the way that networks are being built, to fundamentally make it simpler and cheaper. So that's what became here. We started 2.5 years ago. 9 months later, we have first shipping product. We're a year in the market. We have already 5 global tier 1 customers, adding one every month or two, and moving with extreme speed. Indeed, our CEO came a few weeks ago and kind of turned this now into, from a startup inside the company, into the core strategy of the company. And that's why we formally made it a headquarters of cloud for the organization.
That's great. We wish you all the best of luck. We want as many multinationals coming in, setting base here in Israel, and flourishing and succeeding.
Can I add one comment on the previous discussion?
Sure.
On the failure side, I think there's one thing that I felt a change. So I did a few startups in Israel, then moved to the States for many years and came back. The one thing I really felt the difference is kind of maybe version 2.0, is the fact that there are a lot of returning entrepreneurs that have spent some time in the valley, spent some time in multinationals, they still have the sabres, this cactus, right? Prickly Israeli thing that can live in the desert, but it's shaved a little bit, right? It's not, doesn't hurt as much as you touch when you touch it. Okay? And it allows you to work within large organizations, to influence change, to understand that buying is important, that you can be right, but you don't have to be right all of the time, or explain to people that you're right and they're wrong. And that to me is very, very big change. So when I look at the leaders that I hired in my team, every single one of them was an entrepreneur that did his exit, spent a few years in a big multinational, went through a lot of personal scars, and through a personal journey, decided to move back to Israel, and now has a very, very good understanding of global markets and multinational companies, of how Silicon Valley works or wherever they happen to be, and brought that personal knowledge back into Israel. And I think it's creating a new generation of Israelis that are not just building great technologies looking for products, but people that are leaders, that are good managers, and that understand that they actually need to solve a business problem and then find that technology.
Great. I actually really agree with you. What do you guys think? Yeah. I think that was a really good point, and also a great setting to move on to an international entrepreneur, to Mikael. For those of you who don't know Mikael was a super successful businessman entrepreneur in France, worked at Free, one of the revolutionary and disruptors of the telecom industry in France, went up the ranks to be CEO of Free. And then one day, Mikael, you decide to leave everything and set up base here in Israel. Not only that, you also decide to take one of the most concentrated, difficult industries in Israel, the telecom industry, and bring and build up a company from scratch to be a competitor in an industry with 3 players that are super dominant and split with a pretty much even share each one. Tell us first of all a bit, what is it to be a French entrepreneur coming into Israel? How difficult, what kind of insights can you share with folks who might be thinking about, setting up a business in Israel? Is that hard? Is that easy? What are the key insights you can share with us?
Okay, first, Maya, I really appreciate that you try to say my name in French every time, so I really appreciate the effort. But you can call me Michael or Michael. To answer to your question, I've been working 7 years in Paris, in France, and now a few years in Israel. I don't think that you have, a good country or a bad country. You see a lot of difference, and I know that also France is not a generic example. And more on that, the Free example, company Free in France, is not a typical French example. It's the opposite. It's really something strange, unusual in France. What can I say is, like everyone, personal relationships are more direct and easier in Israel. That the hierarchy is not really existing in Israel, which I think is good.
More like anarchy.
But on the other side, I will say that, and I'm not talking about the organization, but I'm more talking about the world where we enter telecom. Until the day the regulators start to open the market and we start to rise, it was really a friend and family business. And all the difficulty for us, and maybe the advantage to be a foreigner that made Aliyah, want to live here or to establish his life here, but with no connection with any big family, with any tycoon, with anyone, knowing no one at the government level, knowing no one at the administration level, which is normally a big failure, a big weakness, something that will not give you the ability to continue to grow and to build your business. It was for us an advantage, because really we came here with new, clear idea, with no other interest, no other conflict of interest, and with a single will, motivated by ideology, to change things. And we were talking about innovation in Israel, and I think, as you said in your book, and if we have a look of the global map, that there is no question mark that Israel is today one of the hurt and maybe the hurt of